This time around, I'm not going to go into extensive detail about the product. If there is anyone listening right now that is not familiar with what Zambezi is, what the Zambezi Board is, please let me know, and we will get out. I'll make time to give you a detailed presentation on why the product is so revolutionary. I will go into it now, but I want to move at speed towards the end, where we're talking about the actual battle plan now going forward, because things are happening so fast. So without further ado, I'll just begin. I'll share screen here, and I'll move swiftly. Can everyone see that?
Yeah. You're good.
All right. So the Zambezi Board is obviously a completely different thing. We call it a board. It's actually not a board technically. It's vertical dimensions. It's enormous displacement, are completely different to what most people would think of as a board. But of course, we have to speak the common tongue. And most people think of an object like this, a sporting good item like this, as a board. And so we'll stay with that. It's a Zambezi board. The ones that you're going to see in this presentation, many of you know this, are the search and rescue version that have a longer nose. The product that is about to actually be released into the market is the consumer version. It will be significantly shorter in the bow. If you can see where my mouse is here, it'll come around about there. The forward thruster will be further back. The actual riding area is identical. It's exactly the same, but the bow is shorter. You'll notice in these pictures and videos, the bow rides high in some cases. It was because it's designed to take a huge amount of weight on the bow. The windows are also no longer necessary because the bow is so much more diminutive. The visibility forward to the board is, you're looking right over the bow. So this is made for a faster to produce product and given us great margins on the board, which the other had anyway, but these are even better. So without further ado, just bear that in mind. The product is all about the core, human core. Is where the power comes from. Power comes from the core and from the legs. You can see the enormous power that's generated with the Zambezi kick. Importantly, you always use medium or long length dive fins. This is significant, obviously, because this partners us in many respects as a synergy with scuba and snorkeling because of the use of the dive fins. That will come in later, as you can imagine. Here you can see just briefly cross-section of what's happening. The board is actually depressing underneath the water and recoiling. It does this by virtue of a huge displacement in what we call the core of the board, the back area there. Technically speaking, it's almost spherical in dimension. This keeps the rider's core in the surface, which enables that enormous power. It braces it in the surface and it rolls and mimics the body's actions. The kick is a deep cyclic bicycle style kick. You don't have to use the arms, but of course the board liberates you to use all of your limbs. And why is this significant? Because it's like swimming, but much easier. All the swim strokes that you think of doing, you can do in a Zambezi board. But most importantly, it's like running. It's like running and walking. Once again, a drop knee kick, the core in the surface, and you can just go forever like that. Long distance board, it's like going for a hike. And this opens up an enormous world of discovery and exploration for anyone. The key thing is that the board is very natural. And I'm going to fly through these slides, but you'll see this this drop knee cyclic kick. And you'll see how it mirrors many other familiar sports: cycling, running, soccer, hockey, and of course the most obvious, scuba and snorkeling. Same posture. Now you can see why the board is so easy and fast to learn. And because people can learn it so quickly, they're likely to do it. They can get it. They're not wasting their vacation trying to do something that's very difficult that they're likely never to really master, like surfing or paddleboarding or kayaking. Zambezi board, a few minutes, they're out there having fun. And importantly, they're out there having fun together, and they are confident. There are many people who are very athletic and very fit or not, but are physically active, but they don't consider themselves to be strong swimmers. The Zambezi board takes all such concerns away. It turns us, the average person, into an aquatic, it gives them aquatic confidence. And here you can see the boards being used snorkeling, which of course you can see the relevance to the resort industry. And that's where this is all going. They can play, you can see the boards on the surface there, they can dive down, they can just go. That's the Kolu Kalama, by the way, very famous surfer and stand-up paddler. That's in Hawaii. Let's talk about waves. People always think of it as a surfboard. Of course, the board is great in waves. It's easy to make a board that's great in big waves. The Zambezi board is designed for flat water. The money is in the flat water. If you want to ride a wave, great. But it's the small waves that is where the money is also. People on vacation playing in small little waves. It's harder to make a board for small waves than for big. There they are, just having fun. Small little waves, flat water mostly. It's social. Look how close we are together. This socialness of the board is very important. There's no paddles keeping you apart. So obviously, tourism is the big thing, and we'll really get into that later on. It looks great in the beach, and importantly, it is useful in the. It is the only board that's effective in the swimming pool. And this means that rehab, fitness, sports therapy for all ages is on the cards for Zambezi. It also is directly relevant to, once again, the resorts, because when they spend this kind of money on pools like this, of course they want a product that can be meaningfully used in that. You can't use a paddleboard or a surfboard in that environment. Once again, the physiotherapy. We can go into great detail later about all of these for anyone who wishes, but I want to move forward to where we're at now. So here we are, here we see what the length of the new board. It won't have the windows, but you can see the huge difference that there's going to be. The riding area is exactly the same. Here we go, portability on the left. It looks really great, it's cool, but it's totally impractical. Most people don't have this rig. Most people are going to rent a Jeep Compass. They're the Zambezi boards, they go in the back. Once again, it's relevant to resort rentals. And of course, the urban consumer. In all parts of the world. Family. You'll see families consistent here. The board is very forgiving, so a rental outlet does not have to have the exact size board for everyone. Even if it only has adult size boards, or you only have adult size boards at the cottage, well, everyone can go out and have fun. Here's the daughter, here's the dad. Two different sizes completely, yet they're having fun on the same board. We will, of course, be bringing out kids and teen boards in the future. We'll move right through. You can see similarities swimming in every regard. It's natural. Once again, that rotational kick here, mom and daughter, kids going with, the family, father and daughter. You get the idea. On the right, there's the paddleboard. And unfortunately, he's going to spend most of the day like that, trying to learn it. And at the end, he's going to have to deflate this thing, try and get it back in the bag. Charlie's just going to chuck his dad's Zambezi board in the back of the car. It'll be done. And of course, the branding, flippers, snorkels, bathing suits. You can see how the brand of Zambezi will spread outwards from the sport. The little girl in this picture is going to want a Zambezi bathing suit and a Zambezi flippers. Now, intellectual property, very, very significant patent tree, more than 24 patents, design patents in Europe and the United States, and growing, along with an expanding trademark protection. There's Thomas Beatty, one of the best in the country, our patent attorney. Now, about the manufacturing, we now have a 3-year OEM manufacturing deal with Tahi Sport. The board will be produced on aluminum molds like that, twin sheet thermoforming using Ace Tech technology. This is for a paddleboard. Obviously, the Zambezi board's mold will be much smaller. This agreement puts us in a very strong position. Tahi is the premier board production facility in the world, based in Vence, France. Now here's a price comparison between the Zambezi board and the Tahi Sport most common rental, the 11-foot Breeze Cross, one of your most common rental paddleboards. This is actually to scale, guys. It's actually to scale, as ridiculous as it looks. Here's the Zambezi board that's coming. Here's the paddleboard. Why have we done this? They are both made using Ace Tech technology. Now, up here on the left, These are prices that are in euros in France. Why? Because you want to keep apples to apples. Obviously, as these two products move outwards through the world, they will acquire tariffs and yada, yada. But obviously, the Zambezi board will acquire them at a reduced rate to the paddleboard. But in France, Ace Tech Zambezi board, 500 euros. Mid-range Merez dive fins, 18 euros, 518. The board includes the leash. The Tahi paddleboard, almost 1,100 bucks. A decent mid-range paddle, and this is actually quite inexpensive, 140 euros. And the sup leash, 40 euros, looking at 1,277 euros versus 518 euros. Now, what does that purchase get you? Here we see the real world laid out. Where can you use all these other boards? How versatile are they to the consumer? And the reality is, not very. Can you use it in any kind of water? Waves, rivers, lakes, swimming pools? Zambezi? Yes, any. Sup? No. Surfboard? No. Bodyboard? No. Kayak? No. Any conditions. Rough water, choppy water, waves, whatever. You can use a Zambezi board in any conditions. Kayak, technically speaking, you can. You take your life in your hands trying to ride a waves with kayak. Most people will never do that. Any age, Zambezi can go any age whatsoever. These other sports, no. The bodyboard, yes, you can kick behind it in the pool. That's it. Is it compact? Is it realistic? Small. Zambezi, yes. The others, no, except for the bodyboard. Is it light? Yes. The sup, terribly heavy. Surfboard is about the same weight. But a small, very small surfboard. Bodyboard, yes. Kayak, no. But most importantly, does it empower the body? And the others are all no. Only the Zambezi truly empowers the person naturally in the water. It's a similar motion to running, to cycling, to skating, to swimming, to scuba. Yes, all across. None of them are the same. And you can learn it in under 10 minutes. Learning a bodyboard is pretty much clinging to it and kicking around behind it for a little while. Now, the sales strategy consists of several pillars. The main ones being, there are three of them actually. The first two are the resort and the organized beach. When I say the organized beach, I think many of you know what we're talking about. It's a European-style organized beach with the recliners and all the services involved. Some are expensive, some are budget. You pick the beach you like and you pay, and you go in and you have your recliner and all that kind of stuff. This environment is where the Zambezi board will be inserted. The third pillar are the lifeguards, and we are very fortunate to have a fantastic relationship with the the largest lifeguard organization in Greece. They have a pre-production fleet of 6 Zambezi boards that they use to lifeguard particularly big triathlons and swim races. There's a few of them there. There's actually 300 in the organization. They are effectively Zambezi's frontline ambassadors. Our relationship with them is very close. Now, obviously, the lifeguards are admired as they're patrolling the bathing area. The consumer is reassured. It looks good. It's safe. It's awesome. The kids love it. The parents love it. Here we see all the associations, heroes, the board, the truck. There's the lifeguard drill being practiced at Vulameni Beach, one of Athens' most prestigious beach. Here's the Lifeguard Tower. You'll see the significance of it because there's the boards at the Lifeguard Tower. It's like a full-time billboard for Zambezi. Look at this little boy. This happens all day long. They can't wait to get out on that board. Once again, the triathlons, etc., I'll move through this quickly. These races are very important because they're exposing these consumers to the board, and the people love it because it can intervene safely. There's no paddles involved. You can see the cross-branding. Our presence at the triathlons will be ongoing. We already are signing up to be a sponsor at one of the large triathlons in the Balearics. But the triathlete himself or herself is a prime target. It's a $2.8 billion per annum business, triathlon. And all the boxes are checked for Zambezi. It's very similar to cycling and running, just like a triathlete does. So the lifeguards are our frontline ambassadors in these areas. So here we see the three pillars of the strategy: the resort, the organized beach, the lifeguards. All this leads to retail sales. The board will only be sold online or through resort retail. You know what we're talking about, the beach store that's at the resort, or the beach store that's on the road, the strip right behind the hotels. That's the only brick and mortar place that you'll buy a Zambezi board. All the rest will be sold online through a very, very advanced fulfillment system. We are shortlisting the company that will handle that. DB Schenker is one of them. There's several others, but they make sure that the product comes from the factory straight to your door. Here we can see the strategy. This is Lido di Jesolo in Italy. That busyness goes on for 14 kilometers. But here you see all the same recurring themes. The pool, right? Everything we've seen about the board and the pool. The Lifeguard Tower, the lifeguards patrolling, and in between the consumer going back and forth under continual exposure to the product. And the same again, the pool, the Lifeguard Tower, the lifeguards patrolling. And in this case, we've got the boats for snorkeling and trips to the small islands. So the consumer is constantly moving around in a world of Zambezi boards. Here's Avi, one of their top lifeguards. This is exactly the kind of guy who would take you out on what we call Zambezi Safari, which is structured outings from the hotel. There's the hotel, that's a GN resort over there. That's the Temple of Poseidon up there. It's a perfect Zambezi Safari country. Here he is taking us around, telling us about the temple, about the Minotaur, etc., etc. Over here, someone is diving down to snorkel. It's a perfect board for people on vacation. There's a compartment in the front, right here. You can take it as water, you can take it as sandwiches, you can take the hotel key with you, right? All the things you're worried, you can take your flip-flops. We walked these boards around over the mountain. Flip-flops were inside the board. Unbelievable. Now let's get down to brass tacks. This is one of the most famous resorts in all of the Mediterranean, the Astia Beach Peninsula. To say it's exclusive is an understatement. It's beyond 5-star. It's as exclusive as it gets. We're talking movie stars, senior politicians, etc., etc. We are now entering into partnership with the aquatic rental and activity company that controls everything you see there. All the beaches north and south of the Astia. Their facilities are actually inside the Astia resort. So you can see we are inserting the board into a premium market for maximum influence. The board's branding is the very opposite of Surf's Up Dude. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with Saint-Tropez. It's sophisticated. It's Euro. It's nothing to do with Surf's Up Dude. It's to do with places like this. The other primary focus this year will be the Balearic Islands, specifically Formentera, and we already have representation here, very strong representation. Formentera Island, jet set destination. Mallorca, and of course, Ibiza. Combined, they receive on an average year 14 million tourists. Now let's stick on this slide of Ibiza, because it illustrates what's about to come in the sales strategy. Our goal rests on getting the boards into the resorts. Ideally, an average of 20 boards per resort. Now, it's important to understand that every one of those 20 boards will be ridden by hundreds, and in some cases, thousands of customers at the hotel, guests at the hotel every year. To illustrate what that looks like, let's just talk about one little Zambezi board out of the 20 that are in the rental fleet. If it's used 3 times a year, 3 times a day, morning, midday, and in the afternoon, and if the tourist season in that particular area is only 3 months long, and for most of them it's up to 5 months long, if it's only 3 months long, that board will be ridden, just that one, by more people than you can see on that whole beach. And what our hypothesis is that if of all those people you can see on that beach, only 10 bought the board when they got home. Just 10. Let's look at these ones here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Those 10. Keep those 10 in mind. And it's obvious that it's absurd that all these people who are having a great time, there are only 10 of them. And furthermore, we are going to assume that those 10 people, when they had that Zambezi Board at home, directly or indirectly influenced 2 other people to buy the board. Maybe they didn't even know that person. Maybe the person just saw them on the beach. Maybe the person saw them at the lake or at the pool. But each of those 10, in the course of a year, influenced 2 other people to buy a Zambezi board. And here's what that winds up with. You will see at the top several years. What I say now, it's important for me to express to you, it doesn't have to be years. We're talking in terms of cycles. Cycles. This whole chart is only based upon the minimum of us achieving this. Obviously, there's going to be tons of stuff happening outside this hypothesis. We intend to introduce enough boards into the Balearic Islands and the Athens Riviera this year to achieve 20 resorts having the boards by next summer. Each of those resorts will be leveraged to influence 2 other resorts in the area, as is common. 2 gets 2, and so on and so on and so on. Each of those resorts, on average, will have about 20 Zambezi boards. And if you follow that all the way through, here's the 10 people that we just saw, 8,000 boards. Here's the 2 people that they influenced, 16,000 boards. But obviously, this is continuing to happen at those same resorts every year. So you can see that number repeating every year. By the next year, 80 resorts have them. That means 1,600 resort boards at 20 boards per resort. That means 16,000 people influenced to buy it. That's the 10 people. And so on and so on and so forth. And when we finish this cycle, in the final year, we are selling up to 756,800 boards per annum. And if you add all of these numbers up as the total boards sold by 2027, using a very conservative hypothesis, you're talking about several million boards. So 1.5 million boards, each at an average markup of greater than $200 per board. So the strategy is to insert the boards into these key areas where there's a high influence rate between the resorts. I'm sure many of you have been to places like that, resorts side by side. If one gets it, the others have to get it if the customers are liking it. That's the plan. And that plan will go through its initial stage this summer. The boards should be ready for production. It will be coming off the production line by July. That's the current timeline. By July, the boards will be arriving in the market at the resorts. So I appreciate all of your attention, and I'm going to stop sharing now. If anyone has any questions at all, please feel free to ask.